What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're here for the Canadian Grand Prix for F1 2018 career mode. Before we get things started though, if you haven't seen the last episode, the Monaco Grand Prix, I recommend you go check it out. It was a pretty crazy Grand Prix, as you'd come to expect from that racetrack. But heading into this one, we had a failure for our rear downforce upgrade. It was a major one. So that one has set us back a little bit. I think it's going to cost us, 439 resource points to retry to get the upgrade. It will go on the car next time, but it's just been pushed back another week. So that's pretty unfortunate, but we're ready for qualifying now for the Canadian Grand Prix. Hopefully the car is quick. Let's find out.
Welcome again then, and we hope you're ready for another fantastic session as the teams prepare to unleash their cars for qualifying at the Canadian Grand Prix.
Okay, so heading into the weekend now, I made a blunder. Just after pressing go to qualifying, I realized I forgot to put new power unit components in the car. And Canada is a huge power unit circuit, power dependent circuit. I just couldn't go without some newer parts. So I decided to fit the MGU-H into the car. Set me back by, I think, 14 or 15 minutes. But thankfully, the team did an awesome job of actually fixing, applying that new component and getting us back out for the end of the session. So we're going to have 2 laps of this to try and get into Q2. The car is faster now, it's upgraded, but after the whole ambiguities of Spain and Monaco, I still don't exactly know where we fit into the order of this 2018 grid at the moment, but we'll see. 10.2 is the opening lap. It only has us in 19th place at the moment, 1.4 seconds down on pole as we go through the middle sector. We're doing absolutely everything in our power to get the time in. We're up by 3 tenths, so let's see if this is good enough. We're really going to attack this final chicane here. You can make up a lot of time on the AI if you get it right. Nice and flying through there, nice exit. We had to really manage the battery as well. We were running out, but we crossed the line. We do improve, but it was not good enough to get us out of Q1. 1.9 seconds off pole, and 4 tenths away from getting into Q2. So we don't have a front-running car. We knew this. A lot of people seem to think that that was the case after Monaco. It was just a freak of nature race. The fact that, we got the strategy right. We had Charles Leclerc holding up half the field, getting us into a podium position. This is where our car naturally sits. But on a normal race weekend, this is where we sit. We still struggle to get out of Q1. Albeit, I could have done myself more favours by at least having 2 runs. But that just wasn't the case. But hopefully in the race we can move forward. We're going to put pretty much all new power unit components in for the race. And that should definitely bolster our speed. So we'll see how it goes. Starting at the back is not the greatest thing in the world, but at least it's not going to be a boring episode. You're going to see a lot of overtakes in this one. We've gone for low downforce as well. 2.5 wings, so we should be pretty slippery in a straight line. So there will be no shortage of overtakes, and hopefully the strategy can get us into the game as well. But it's time for the Canadian Grand Prix.
We're back once again beside the St. Lawrence River here in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. The event first moved to a variant of this track back in 1978. It was won by none other than Gilles Villeneuve, the first Canadian to ever win his home race, and in whose honour the circuit would be renamed. Joining me for the Grand Prix once again is Anthony Davidson. Now I want to ask you about Romain Grosjean. As ever, the threat of unreliability is never far away, and indeed they'll be starting out of position today due to a power unit component change. So it's going to be a difficult task to move forward from there.
But on the bright side, at least those fresh components can help them maintain the power they need to come through the pack. I expect to see them take a more aggressive approach today to make up for the compromised start.
Keep your eyes open on the run to turn 1 and keep it clean. We want to come out in one piece. Good luck.
Thanks, Jeff. Starting from P16, we're going to need a lot of luck in this Grand Prix. Race strategy, looking at the 2 different ways we can go about this race, is actually really, really close in terms of the times. You can see there the 1-stop is faster, but we've done a 1-stop every single time so far this season. I want to change things up, do a 2-stop. I actually think this could work better for us if we pull ourselves out of the traffic. Everyone outside the top 10 will be starting on the middle tyre compound. And if we just remove ourselves from that, we can get some clear air. If there's safety cars, virtual safety cars we could take advantage of, we gain 10 seconds. Maybe more, depending on how much the AI squabble and battle each other. If we remove ourselves from that, we can stand to seriously gain. So, we'll see. I like doing things differently. I like to take a risk. Sometimes it works, other times it doesn't, and we look completely stupid. But I think this might work today, given how close the two strategies are on paper. 5 red lights, and away we go. For the Canadian Grand Prix, Sergio Perez got a terrible start. Gasly is trying to look up the middle of him and my teammate. I'm going to go up the inside of everyone. They're all concerned with each other. We almost got wiped out by Ocon, or we nearly wiped him out, shall I say. Van Dorn up next. Let's see if we can grab him as we head into the middle sector. He is driving a little bit cautiously. We make the most of that. P12. Good start so far. 4 spots found. Next up, Ocon. Like I said, we nearly wiped ourselves out with him at turn 1, so just gotta keep our wits about us. You can still crash even though you've survived the first corner. These guys getting backed up on each other heading into the hairpin. It's a couple of spots gained there as well. P10 side by side with Alonso. Let's stretch the legs now. Rich revs and overtake mode as we get to the higher end of the speed range. Yeah, like I said, I think from memory, overtake is actually the better battery mode to be in at this point in the game, especially when you're in like 6th, 7th, 8th gear. It just gives you much better push and momentum versus hot lap, which I think is better at low end gears, gives you better acceleration. But anyway, we get a nice run out of the final chicane. Sainz, Hulkenberg and Magnussen all getting stuck into each other, and this gives us the perfect opportunity to close in and potentially seal the deal here on Sainz, who looks like he might be having some tyre issues, or maybe something is a little bit worse at play. I'm not too sure. But anyway, the Hypers, the tyres that we're on, they don't last too long. As we saw in Canada, there's a yellow flag up ahead. This is going to be a very short first stint here in this Grand Prix, and I also, as well, by putting on these Hypersoft tyres, it allowed me to overtake a lot of cars. There's a virtual safety car. Valtteri Bottas is out of the Grand Prix. I feel like out of the front runners, Valtteri has the worst reliability out of anyone, which is really, really unfortunate. But we're making our pit stop now. We're making the most of the virtual safety car. Like I said, if there was a VSC, the 2-stop really plays into our favour. We almost get a free pit stop out of this. So here we go, onto the ultra soft tyres. VSC is ending, perfect timing. We'll be rejoining on the circuit. We actually might be able to re-overtake Sirotkin, our teammate, the Toro Rosso. Nice flowing run, back onto the racetrack. And we're pretty much in the pack again. And we've got new tyres. That is a huge gain. You won't really see it right now, but later on, you'll really see the benefit of this. Here goes Sirotkin up the inside. We turn across him, we kind of block that off and make sure he doesn't get us. We do not want to lose any track position now. We only want to move forward on our fresh tyres. We're going to be storming past these guys. But you can see Stroll, my teammate, and I think Hartley as well, into the pit lane. They're not making a pit stop, so it was a drive-through. When I checked the race director, those guys all at the back, they all got speeding under yellow flag penalties, which is very, very unfortunate for those guys. But here, this is Verstappen versus Raikkonen on the start-finish straight. Raikkonen has the inside for the first left-hander. But Verstappen, though, in the Red Bull, better chassis. He'll have the inside for the next right-hander. And I think he gets the position back. Meanwhile, Ricciardo made his stop and just rejoined ahead of them. So, some squabbling there for those two. Meant that they lost the position to Ricciardo. But for us, we're looking pretty good. Everyone in the upper midfield to the front runners are now starting to stop. Hamilton has now made his pit stop and actually only just rejoined in front of me. So effectively, we were at one point only like 2 or 3 seconds away from the lead of the Grand Prix. But with our car, we're not going to be able to sustain that position or closeness to the front runners. We're just going to fall back possibly a little bit. Another yellow flag. That's a car going slowly up ahead. It looks like it's a Red Bull. Looking at the icon on the minimap. And yeah, it's Ricciardo. So his race is coming to an end unless he's got a puncture. But I think he actually retired from the Grand Prix on the right there, so that is his race over. So with 2 front runners out of the field, the potential to get a really good result here inside the top 5 is again very, very high if things go our way. So we'll see. This is Esteban Ocon we were chasing down for a few laps there. We were getting within striking range, and then he made his pit stop, so that was pretty unfortunate that we weren't able to make the most of that. Second corner cutting warning of the race, 1 more and we'll get a 3-second time penalty. So let's not, well, that's out the window now, isn't it? So 3-second time penalty to contest within this race. We do have strict corner cutting rules on, so that's what happens sometimes. And Canada is so easy to cut corners. It just happens. Just the nature of a lot of these sharp, quick turns. But meanwhile, we've got Nico Hülkenberg trying to overtake us around the outside into the hairpin. This is the point in the Grand Prix where we're just trying to hold on to our track position if we can. Someone in a Renault, even though they're a little bit slower than us on a straight line, they just make it up so much in the first and second sectors. And with the slipstream, DRS and deployment modes, they're pretty threatening in a straight line as well. But in this race, as I was finding out, trying to defend from these faster cars, I was really using up my battery just trying to maintain position. They were fast enough to get alongside me into some of these braking zones. Oh, there goes Verstappen, who's freshly come out of the pits. Decided to let him go. He was going to dive me anyway. I was using up a lot of my battery, but I was losing the position anyway and holding myself up in the corner, so it was a really frustrating scenario with 14 laps to go in this Grand Prix. We're actually going to pit on this lap and go on to another set of ultras that are going to take us to the end of the Grand Prix. But yeah, we've got a 3-second time penalty to contend with now, so we can't really afford to have a big train of cars behind us, because if we do, by the time we get to the end of the race, we're going to lose all those positions if we've got a big train. So we need to kind of avoid battling if we can and keep up a consistent race pace. But we rejoin in P10 with still possibly a few more cars yet to make another stop. Here's Hülkenberg again. The AI just get enough of the run to get alongside into a corner, and then they drive really slowly, as you can see the 2 Renaults doing here. Look at how much time they lose to me just by going side by side at the final chicane. It's absolutely mad how much time they lose when they squabble like that. And that squabbling has actually hurt them back big time. The force India of Esteban Ocon gets both of them just because they squabbled into one corner. So pretty unfortunate for those guys, but now for us, we're actually having to manage fuel as well. We're getting quite low on that. Here comes Ocon like a missile up the inside on the back straight. He came out of nowhere. I wasn't really expecting him to do that. I've been fighting Renaults for the last 10 laps. And then when you come up against a Mercedes-powered car, you see the difference. It was mad how fast he was. I was in standard for like the battery mode and also the fuel mix. I quickly flicked it up in a rich and high deployment, but he still soared right past me. Man, the AI, if you're napping, the AI will absolutely make the most of it. Side by side now with the Renault of Nico Hülkenberg. It's going to be 3 wide as Sainz dives up my inside as well into turn 1. Side by side with Hülkenberg, and I think he actually tapped the side of us there, and he spun out onto the infield. What is this race? This Canadian Grand Prix is an absolute cracker. Here comes Sainz up the inside, trying to make the most of everything here. Backs out of it, and then the contact with Hülkenberg. We're going to have to slow this down and get a better look at this. This is the onboard with Hülkenberg. You can see us flying past on the inside, and then there's Sainz as well. This was really difficult to manage for me personally, because, yeah, 3 wide into a very quick left-right chicane. I was kind of more focused on Sainz, who was on my inside. I kind of forgot about Hülkenberg, who was on my right-hand side. Yeah, I thought he would have backed out. I thought he would have conceded the position, but no, he stuck his nose in there, kept it in there, and I thought Sainz was still on my left-hand side, so I didn't leave more space. So that's definitely my fault, but the game hasn't penalised me for that, so I've gotten pretty lucky there to get away with that. This is Romain Grosjean, I think, going up the inside of Hülkenberg. No, it's Sainz, actually. And they're going to continue to squabble away in this race. So with them squabbling, it allows me to get away a little bit. The gap is now 2.6 seconds. We need to get that gap over 3 seconds in order to maintain P8 once all the time penalties have been applied after the race for corner cutting. But I'm in a really tough spot here. Magnussen now gets past the Renaults, and Magnussen in the Ferrari powered Haas is even faster than the Renaults, both arguably in the corners and in a straight line as well. I think he's got fresher tyres than what the Renaults did, and now he poses a little bit more of a threat. But the thing that's worrying for me is I'm using up my battery so much. It seems like Canada is very, very harsh on battery deployment, and there's not too many spots where you can save it all too much. And I'm also struggling on fuel. You can see I'm in the red for fuel, so I can't really lean on the power unit itself, the engine, the ICE, to maintain a consistent or a fast straight line speed while saving the battery. If I save the battery and try and save fuel as well at the same time, I've got nothing. I've got no pace, and I need to bridge the gap by 3 seconds to finish in the points. And it's not looking good at the moment. With 5 laps to go in this Canadian Grand Prix, this is a management nightmare. So, it's a difficult one. We let Magnussen go through there. We're actually going to save a bit of fuel and battery on this straight. We're going to use DRS to kind of tow us along and see if we can get Magnussen back. Actually, no, we chucked it back up in a rich and overtake to see if we can get him back. So, forget what I say. I don't even know what I'm doing at this point. I'm just making it up as I go along. But I decided to wait for this second straight to overtake Magnussen. He gets a terrible run. For some reason, when the AI are fighting side by side into the final chicane, they lose all apex speed, and it's a nightmare having to squabble side by side into that corner in particular. That's why, yeah, some of these cars are, just losing so much time. When you're in a battle pack, this is how you gain so much time if you're in clear air, for example. But anyway, Magnussen attacking us again into the first sector. We managed to get the better of him there, and we're just in full save mode in the first sector through all those slow corners, using lean revs, using low or no deployment. We've now realized that this is a weak spot for us on the circuit. We're having to use up most of our battery and our fuel to maintain position. On this occasion, it hasn't really worked. I'm getting a bit of oversteer and a bit of wheel spin off of that, longish right-hander exit onto that mini straight. So that's something we'll have to rectify. Maybe move the diff down to make the power delivery a little bit smoother. So that's something I might try on the next lap. But again, having to defend on the DRS straight. And we put it up into overtake. On this straight in particular, it's actually not too bad. We can actually hold them out in the top end. But I think it's just the acceleration through that middle sector straight that really has us really vulnerable. So here, like I said, I'm going to play around with the differential, kind of loosen up the rear and make it a little bit smoother on exit. I'm going to short shift up early to 5th gear to minimize wheel spin. It was a fairly smooth exit, but still, look at this, Magnussen comes flying past us, and now Alonso in the McLaren as well is looking to line us up for a pop shot. We go round the outside into that middle sector chicane, and we hold on to P8. I'm actually starting to lose my voice here. I'm getting a bit worried. Last lap of the Grand Prix. It's looking pretty dire now as to whether we finish in the points now. But Alonso is having a go at Magnussen and holding him up into the middle sector. That's exactly what I need. If these guys squabble a lot on this final lap and I just have clear air, I might get away. Lewis Hamilton wins the Grand Prix. Like I said, at one point, he rejoined just in front of us on strategy, and we've lost bucket loads of time to him. Again, Alonso has battled away with Magnussen. He actually got in front of him at one point, and now Magnussen is coming back at him into the hairpin. Yes, boys, continue to battle. The gap at the moment is like 2 seconds, and I'm using all of my battery now, all of my fuel left to try and stretch away, and if they battle into this final chicane, they're going to lose a lot of time. Here comes Sainz in the Renault at the inside of Alonso. Magnussen having to go defensive, so he played that pretty cautiously, but us across the line, I think this will be enough for P8.
Alright, race over. Take care.
It is. It's P8. Oh, what a drive.
And here are our podium drivers today after that excellent race. They've excelled here, as they so often do, and it's a well-deserved victory. Mercedes, then, are on top today.
That is so satisfying. You guys have no idea how stressful that race was, having to maintain that position, saving enough fuel to utilize all of it on the straights, and also managing the battery as well to make sure that we had enough deployment to keep those guys at bay through that middle sector straight. That was insane. A real get out of jail free card for myself there. The AI really battling quite hard on that last lap. We got away and we get 4 points. Awesome stuff. So there we go. That has been the Canadian Grand Prix, arguably one of the best races of the season. I really, really enjoyed that. From P16, we did 2 stops and we made our way through the field. Making the most out of the VSC, gained about 10 seconds in that. Our car pace was not good. That's something we still need to work on. But we're still getting the results at the same time, which is awesome to see. Let's talk to Claire and see what she has to say.
Great work out there today. How do you think it went? You were cutting your way through the field during the race. You're beating all expectations. Would you say we all underestimated you? Things were close between you and your rival, but it looks like you're coming up top, doesn't it? Great! Well, that's everything.
Thanks, Claire. And yeah, speaking of our teammate Charles Leclerc, he's been dominating us in qualifying. In the race, he's not had such luck. He's either had problems with the car, or today, in particular, he was caught up in traffic a lot. But he had that drive-through penalty for ignoring yellow flags, speeding under yellow flags, whatever interpretation you want to put it. That really set him back today. So I feel like I'm slower than Charles still, but whether it be through strategy, great decisions in the race, consistency, we just seem to be getting the better of him at the moment. But I'm really loving this season of career mode. I love that my teammate is really taking the fight to me. The AI are more aggressive this year, but they're more stupid. So it's like rocks and diamonds with the AI. When it all works and comes together, it's amazing. But sometimes they still do really stupid things. So hopefully those little mistakes that they have can be ironed out. And maybe if they can make better decisions in the race, then we would have an absolutely more difficult challenge than what we're having at the moment. But still, it's really good. It's really tough. It's really rewarding when you get it right. And I am really enjoying the contest at the moment. We did an upgrade to the power unit. That'll be coming in a week or two's time, so stay tuned for that. That's the Canadian Grand Prix. Hopefully you enjoyed. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And see plenty more F1 2018 content. And until the next episode, I'll see you next time.